Hi, my name is Jorgelina, and I'm going to be guiding you through changing up the activity that you have either just purchased through our Teachers Pay Teachers. Thank you so much. Or have downloaded from one of the many that we've shared on Facebook. Whether you are have purchased or downloaded the 10 question, which is the one I am going to be modifying, or any other number of questions, they will all work the same. We do not plan on making a video for every single number, as it will just, the process will be exactly the same. So the first thing to know is that this is a completely interactive, live linked file that you have in your hand. There's many different links within it. The first one that you can click on is here, where it says written instructions. So if instead of watching the video, you would rather click on the written instructions, you can click on there and it'll guide you to a PDF with all of this step by step, but in written form. Okay, so your actual one will have this video that I am recording right now linked in here. At the bottom here, this is the corkboard that we're going to be editing. You also have the activity itself. The first one here is one possible answer. What this means is that there's only one answer that your students need and there's no other variations. For example, your answer is apple and there's no other answer other than apple available for that question. The multiple answers link is the same exact activity, same number of questions, but this one will allow you to add additional answers to it. It is just as easy to update this one. So this is the one that I'm going to guide you through because this one has a couple of extra steps on there. So I'll talk about those. So what you would use this multiple answers for is, for example, you have an answer that is 1/2 and you want to allow students to put 1 divided by 2 or 0.5 or just 0.5 or maybe 0.50. So there's different answers that you would accept, different rounding, right? Maybe if they're using a number like pi, you want to allow for 0.3, 0.31, 0.314, right? So anything like that, that you do have multiple acceptable answers, you would use this link here. So let's start off with the corkboard. That's what we're going to be editing first. So I'm going to go ahead and click here so you see exactly what that looks like. It's going to send you there and ask, this is what the corkboard looks like. We are going to be editing this completely. You will have the option to delete our PAME link there if you want to take that out to add your own store, if you're going to be selling this as a store, or if you want to add maybe your school logo if you're using this for your school. So you'll have complete control over this one. So we are going to hit use template and it'll open up something that you can completely edit. I'm going to go ahead and close this out and leave that here. Okay, so we have this already and we will be editing this. I want you to notice that this has 20 sticky notes. So this one's the highest number here. So you can have up to 20 notes on here. 20 questions, 1 note per question. I'm going to go back to here and then I am going to, on the other side, open the template with the actual activity. This is the 10 question activity and I am going to click on the multiple possible answers one. So if you see here, this is what it looks like. It's starting off without a corkboard. If you love this the way that it is, you can definitely use this as is. You can use a little happy globe on there. I drew that one myself using the iPad, so you're free to use it. If you don't want to put a corkboard, it's just kind of like a little freebie thrown in there. But I am going to just click on use template and that will allow me to edit it. Okay, so far we have the corkboard, which is where we're going to start, and then the activity. Quick rundown of the activity before we get started with making the picture. All of the magic is going to happen over on sheet 2. So when you go on sheet 2, you see the pictures of the globe here. This is what we're going to be replacing with. Instead of 10 pictures of this globe, we are going to be changing it to 10 corkboards. So 10 questions. That means that what I need is I need to erase, completely get rid of 10 of them. I don't want to use 20. This one's set up for 20 questions, but I only want 10. I've also given you the option of a blank corkboard, which means you can put stickers on it that you find on the web, or maybe if you've purchased different arts, right? So if you've purchased any kind of PNGs from somewhere else, you can definitely use those here. So personalize it however you want. I am going to be working with this one, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this blank one. If you're using the blank one, definitely start and pack it up with 10 stickers of your choice. If you are going to be using that, then go ahead and pause the video here as you get that ready, and then you can see the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this one. And now I'm back to just one board with 20 questions. And once again, I don't want 20, I want 10. So I'm going to start deleting in order from big to small. So I'm going to get rid of note 20 and that little note 20 there. Then I'm going to look for 19, which is down here. I actually kind of like this one, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete. You can keep any 10 that you want. I'm just going to go in order because it's going to make it easier. Again, if you need to work on this slower, feel free to pause it. All I'm doing here is deleting. So I'm going to delete 17. Basically anything that's higher than 10. I got 10. Here's 14. And 13. All right, do I have all of them? 1, 2, 3. I know I have 2 3s in there, so technically there's 21. 1, 2, 3. That one's extra. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Okay, so I only have 10 in here. You can also erase this little heart here if you want to. So that I do only have those 10 notes. You can delete the extra third one here. Maybe we can get rid of one of these since they're the same color. Again, it doesn't matter which ones you decide to keep. Now you can move these around. So in a little bit, I am going to ask you to pause and finish this step up because I'm not going through work through all of them, but I will show you a couple of them. So this would be note 1, right? So I'm going to change this one. I'm just going to double click on the note itself, and I'm going to change this to "You got this." Right? So these are little messages that they're going to get every time they get a question right. So that's my first one. Here's the second one. Maybe I can say 2 down. Keep going. Number 3, I'll put in here. I believe your abilities. I am going to center this text. Okay, so you would write little different notes on every one of these. I am going to move them around. So notice how everything is can be repositioned. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller so that they take up more space. Right, so this is note 9 here, and you can completely edit all those fonts and text. So I've just given you a template, but what you do with it, especially if you're going to be selling it in your store, definitely give it your flair. So you can completely change this around. I'm going to make this one nice and big. I'm going to change. This one does not need to be that gigantic. right? What would your corkboard really look like? Do you have one of these in your classroom? Maybe you can model it to look like something you have in your class. That would be awesome. All right. Okay, so again, make it as pretty as you want. You can add other things around here that don't necessarily have to appear, right? That can come and go afterwards. Um, Notice how this one, I erased the logo in there and it didn't come out. On the one that you do get on yours, you will be able to remove that if you want to add your own logo. All right, so I am going to ask you to pause this and finish writing up the notes. I'm going to leave mine as they are, so that I can show you how to start removing things. But again, if you need to finish this to make it look pretty with your 10 sticky notes on it, if you're doing one with different number of questions, if you're doing one with 20, then you want 20. If you're doing one with 15, then you would want 15. So depending on how many questions you have, that's how many different stickers or notes you want on yours. So pause your video now and come back to it when you have that ready. Okay, so I'm trusting that you have yours ready. I am going to keep going as if mine looked exactly like I wanted. Now we're going to start making the picture progression. So this first one is our final picture. So what I want to do is I want to duplicate this. So I'm going to go over to the slide. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to duplicate slide. Now I got two. So on the next one, what I want to do is I want to remove one of them. So I'm going to remove whichever one you want to be the last one that pops up. So I'm going to remove this one because it's the one that says note 10 on it. Now there's one less. Now you want to duplicate this one. So I'm going to duplicate the second one. I'm going to right click on this, go to duplicate slide, and we're going to do that one more time. So I'm going to delete now note 9. You can delete with whichever one you want, which would be your 9th one. And you're just going to keep doing this. So again, I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to delete one more. I'm going to delete note 8 this time. And then I'm going to duplicate it again. And now I'm going to delete note 7. And I'm going to duplicate it again. And I'm going to delete note 6, which I don't have one here. So I'll go ahead and I'll delete this one. That was note 6. Then I'm going to duplicate again. And I'm going to delete note 5. And then I'm going to duplicate again. Right click, duplicate, and I'm going to delete note 4. And then I'm going to duplicate again. And I'm going to delete note 3. Right, so every time you're right clicking on the slide and going to duplicate and then deleting one more. So on this one, I only have 2. On this one, I need to only have 1. So I'm going to delete this one. And then I'm going to duplicate it one more time. And on this one, we're going to get rid of the very last one. So you should have a total of, in this case, we should have a total of 11 slides because we have 10 questions in our blank corkboard. So if you have 20 questions, you should have 21 slides, 20 different ones coming in. So now I just want you to see what it looks like. I'm just going to hit my back arrow so you can take a look at what the students are going to be seeing as they type in their answers. So you got this. 2 down, keep going. There's note 3, note 4, note 5, note 6, note 7, note 8, note 9, and note 10. And that would be their final product. Super cool, right? Okay, so now we need to actually make our template. So now that you have this, we want to download these. There is lots of different ways that you can do this. You can definitely check out other videos on our YouTube. I'm going to show you my preferred method because I do like going one step at a time. It helps me not have to troubleshoot later. If you know of a faster way of doing that, definitely do it whatever way you find best. What we want to do here is we want to download every one of these slides as a different PNG image so that then we can upload to our slides here. Okay, so this is our Google Sheets with the globe. That's what it looks like. We're not messing with sheet 1 yet. We're just messing with sheet 2. You want to go over to column L where all of your images are at. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete these globe ones because I have no intention of using these at all. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just highlighting all of them, and I'm going to hit my backspace and get rid of all of them. All right, so here, if we go in order, we're actually going backwards. So we're going from our very last picture to our very first picture, or blank one. So I'm going to work in that order. I'm on the first slide. I'm going to go to File, Download, and then download as a PNG. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up for a few seconds in case you're finding it. File, Download, PNG. I am using Google Chrome, so when I use Google Chrome, it does save it right down here, my downloads. If you're using something different, it will prompt you to where you want to save it, or it's saving automatically in your downloads or your desktop. So you do need to be aware of where your computer is saving it. If you're using Chrome, that is the best because again, it's saved right here. So when you go into your template, again, we're working backwards. So this would be the 10th picture here. I'm going to click where the 10 is at, right next to it where it says image. And I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Image and Cell. And then I'm just going to drag that right in there. That is so easy. If you've saved it, I'll show how that works. If you saved it somewhere, you can definitely do it that way. But if you have this little dragging going on because you're using Google Chrome, that's going to be your best bet. Okay, so when in doubt, if you're a Mac user, don't use Safari. It does work, but it does give you that little extra step of having to go hunt it down on your computer. So if you do have Chrome, maybe switch over to Chrome right now and use it that way. It will definitely save you a little bit of time. All right, so we're going to be downloading the 9th one now. So I'm going to go back over to our template here, and the 9th one would be the next one. So number 2 here. So once again, that's File, Download, PNG. Just give it a couple of seconds and there it is downloaded. So now as I'm clicking on that 9th one, I'm going to go to File, not File, Insert, Image, Image and Cell. So Insert, Image, Image and Cell. From here, if you're not using Chrome, or if Chrome is not saving it down there like it does for me, you can definitely hit the Browse button and then go search for it on your downloads. This one's called, on my end, it's going to be the announcement one. But look, I have so many in here that I've downloaded in the past. So for me, this would be quite chaotic. But you can definitely find it here by looking at the title. Okay, so I'm going to drag it because I don't want to search through that. But you definitely can. Okay, let's do the next one. Now we got to download the 3rd one. So I'm on the 3rd one. I'm going to go to File, Download, PNG. And now I'm back on the slides. Insert, Image, Image and Cell, drag. All right, number 7. Go to the next one. File, Download, PNG. It's downloading. Insert, Image, Image and Cell. Right, so you get into like this little routine. So that's why I like doing all of this. There are other ways that you can do this. You can pause the video here while you try them all out and then come back. I am going to keep working through this every time, going to File, Download, PNG, and then going back in here, Insert, Image, Image and Cell, and dragging. You can download all of them at the same time as a PDF and then using a converter to go from PDF to PNG, so you can definitely do that. I just wanted to make sure. I think I did the wrong one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this should have been the 5th one. I think I got the 4th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm right. All right, see? Troubleshooting already. So I put the wrong picture in here. That's okay. I'm going to re-download it. So again, because I'm working from the bottom, what I did is I just counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be the 5th one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be this one. So File, Download, PNG. And there it is. And now I'm just going to delete. You don't even have to delete. You can, once you insert a new picture, it'll remember. But I like just being thorough. All right, there it is. Don't forget to make sure that you click on the next slide. So click on the next slide and then File, Download, PNG. You would be able to tell once we test out the activity that there's a problem because you wouldn't see the picture change. So if you don't see the picture change, you know there's a problem going on in that one, and then you would just go to the correct slide number and make sure that you download it. All right, next one, 4, and there's 4 pictures on there. This one's easy to see now that there's not that many. File, Download, PNG. Insert image, image in cell, slide to the left. Number 3, we're almost done. File, Download, PNG. Insert image, image in cell. And then you don't have to wait until it's done. So notice how I'm just kind of like not waiting anymore. File, Download, PNG. Insert image, image in cell. File, Download, PNG. This is the first one, and there is only one of them in there, so it should match to question number 1, and it does. So insert image, image in cell, go. And our very last one, our blank corkboard, File, Download, PNG. Insert image, image in cell, and there it is. Okay, now we're gonna go to page 1, sheet 1, and just test it out. Let's just make sure it works. I'm gonna highlight all of this. All right. So many things that we can do here, and this is why I'm using this template, because it's not the perfect size. Notice how the corkboard is all tiny in there. You can just change the size here. That's the beauty of these. So I can just extend this out. Notice how it'll automatically resize. It doesn't matter which one you resize. Beautiful, right? So it looks way better. Maybe your answer columns are not as big as you'd like them. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna highlight both of them. Maybe you want them a little bit smaller, because if not, it's just like ridiculously large. So you can do that. I'm gonna take this one here. I want that one to also show up on this side here. So I'm going to Control Copy and then Control Paste over on this side. Oh, I think I had copy twice. So Control Copy and then Control Paste over on this side. Okay, so Command C, Command V to paste, or Control Paste. I'm gonna shrink this one here to have a little bit more on the sides, right? So you can completely change this around. We'll talk about changing colors and all of that good stuff as well. But what we want to do right now is we want to change the numbers. I'm going to change this one to 1. Notice how it's incorrect now, but I'm going to change it here into the answers. Okay. I just, so that it's just to troubleshoot. All right, so we're going to erase all of these. You can also highlight all of them and hit the backspace. All right, something is not right here because I see this "you got this" on the side, right? We want our first one to be blank. So our first one should be this blank image. So I do have to troubleshoot that to see what it is. Our first one here, oh, it's because I have an acceptable answer here that's blank. So it's counting the first one as acceptable. So I'm just gonna, doesn't matter what's in there. It's just filler. We'll explain that when we come back. All right. Now it's my blank one. Perfect, it works. Now we wanna go in any order and just make sure that it works. So 1, the first answer should give this. Now let's say they should jump over here and they answer number 7. All right, good, it's working. Now I'm just gonna keep going in order. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. If you're watching this and you haven't actually purchased this, but this looks intriguing, you can definitely take a look at the Teachers Pay Teachers link. It will be linked in the description. Or if you join our Facebook group, which will also be in the description, there's been many of these that have already been shared for free on our Facebook group. So you can definitely have access to all of those if you're looking to use them in your own classroom. So the Facebook group is all about sharing, sharing for free, especially. So we do put a big emphasis on that. So if you're interested in free activities for your own classroom, go ahead and take a look at there. But if you're just watching this because you're curious or you haven't pulled the trigger on actually purchasing this for your own use and for making these your own for your Teachers Pay Teachers, or just to have multiple different activities for your classroom, take a look at the description. Okay, so also subscribe that, right? That's what you're supposed to do in a YouTube video. You're supposed to say, hit the notification bell or whatever. Maybe do that now. Okay, so it works. So now we got to turn this into an activity. So let's explain the rest of it. Now that you have your pictures here, you need some questions. So there's a couple of different things that you can do here. You can most definitely type into the box here for your question. You can have, for this one, the answer is 1, but it could be anything. We'll talk about changing the answers afterwards. Let's say this was a multiplication activity. So you wanted something like 2 times 7 here. Okay. Notice how it's all tiny, it's all ugly. You don't want it to look like that. Your students are not going to be able to see that. So this is done on purpose so that you have complete control over this. As you're hovering over this, let's say you want to change just that one cell. So I want this to be really large. So as I'm clicking on it, doesn't matter, you don't have to double click and highlight. You just have to be hovering over having that cell selected. I want to change this to a much larger font. So let's say 24. I want that to be in the middle. So I'm going to center the text, this horizontal alignment, and I'm going to put that to the center. But then I also want to align it vertically to be in the middle. That's the next one here, the vertical alignment. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to put that in the middle. Okay, maybe it's still not large enough. You can definitely change that to a bigger size. Even if that's not large enough, you can always click on here and write something different. So like 45. Okay, so 2 times 7, now it's nicer. And my answer, I don't, obviously 2 times 7 is not 1, that's 14. So I would change this to 14. It's going to mark it incorrect. That's not the correct answer. The correct answer for this field is 1. So what we want to do is we want to go over to sheet 2. And on sheet 2, we want to change that first problem. Our first acceptable answer is 14. All right, so these next ones, if you don't have multiple answers to add in here, you can just leave them. Just make sure there's something in there. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste this acceptable answer to. So it doesn't matter what's in here as long as there is, oh, what did I do? I'm going to hit undo. As long as there's something in here, it doesn't matter what it says. It just can't be blank, or then it will think blank answers are correct. Okay, so as long as that's here, that's fine. But if you do have multiple answers, so let's say you didn't only want to accept 14, you also want to accept 7 times 2. right? So maybe this is an activity about commutativity of multiplication. So you want to say, well, if I say 2 times 7, what's the same thing as that? Well, 7 times 2 is also that. Or other things that give them 14, like 14 times 1, right? So something like that. You can definitely do that as well if you're doing like prime factorization. So then another option would be 1 times 14. Okay, so something like that. This, you can put all of the different answers in there, and what that means is that any of those answers would be correct here. So now if I put 1 times 14 here, it will still mark it correct. But if I change this to, I don't know, 17, it's incorrect because those are the only 4 acceptable answers that will work here. Okay, so you're going to change all of your questions. I'll give you a couple of different tips. If that is enough for you, if you are typing a sentence like, what is the color of the sky, right? So it's text. I do want this to be bigger. I still want it to be like size 18. Notice how I went over on the side. So I want to go over here to the text wrapping, and I want to wrap it. So it's the little arrow that's like, looks like it's curling down. And then I do want to center this, so I'm going to vertically align it to the middle. And then the answer to this one, well, that would be blue. Now I marked it incorrect because the answer for question number 2 is set to be 2. So I do have to go over to sheet 2, and I got to change this to blue. And let's say you have other acceptable answers like sky blue or perhaps baby blue, right? So those are all acceptable answers that you would take. So I've just updated all of those. So that's another option. You can definitely do text here. Let's say you wanted to do a math question, like what I do, right? So something along the lines of high school math. So the one that I like using, it's the vertex, right? So in the quadratics unit, we have vertex form. So it's really hard to type an equation here. There are definitely extensions like Equatio that you can use to type up math. I don't do it that way. So I don't like that one that way. So I'm going to give you my tips, but anything that you find for typing up equations here, you can use if you have a different method. I like using PowerPoint. So there's a few reasons why I like using PowerPoint. The main reason is because it's completely familiar to me. And then the second really good reason is that PowerPoint allows you to save equations as pictures, and more specifically pictures without backgrounds, so that when I upload that picture of the equation here, it will just look like text, and it would give me this beautiful blue background that I've already set up there. So any color that you designate as the background will be the background of the picture that you upload, and not necessarily this like ugly white background that you would get if you screenshot or if you took a picture of a textbook. Okay, so I am going to open up PowerPoint. Blank presentation of PowerPoint. Just delete everything that you got there, and I'm going to go to Insert, Equation, and I'm going to type up an equation here. So f of x is equal to, let's get a quadratic equation going here, x plus 3 squared minus, I don't know, 7. All right, so I have an equation here, quadratic equation in vertex form. I am going to make this font really, really large. So I've noticed that when you have a picture and it's a very small picture and Google Sheets needs to expand it, it's going to pixelate it, and it's going to look, it's not going to look crisp. But if you have a really large picture, like what we're going to be saving here, because we've made it large, and Google Sheets is compressing it, it's making it smaller, then it leaves that crisp outline on it, so it looks like you've just typed it up. Okay, so I have this equation here. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to Save as Picture. When you save as picture, it's going to ask you where you want to save it. I'm going to save this as number 1 just so that it's easy, and on desktop. It's going to tell me you already have one because I use this all the time. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit replace. It's going to save this as number 1 on my desktop. So now when I go into my activity, I click on this question here. I'm going to go to insert. So the same thing we did to insert those corkboards in here. Image in cell. And I'm going to browse my desktop to that number 1. So here's that picture. And it's going to add that right in there. Okay, but I don't want it at the bottom, so I am going to go here and align it to the center. So now let's say that you wanted your answer to be the vertex here. So this was a thing all on the vertex, so the vertex would be -3, -7. Okay, so -3, -7. This is why I like the multiple answers when you're doing things with ordered pairs, because students will do all kinds of weird stuff with their spacing. So my first acceptable answer here is going to be -3, -7 with no spaces. But then I also want it to be -3, space, -7. And then some students inevitably will do -3, space, -7, close it, and then do another space. Some students might do a space first and then -3, -7. Okay, so you give them different options so that their answers are correct, but you don't want a student to be completely frustrated with the right answer and they just can't figure out what's wrong. And maybe it's just that one little extra space they put in there. Okay, so you'll get to know your students and know which ones are the ones that they tend to add more often than not. I also don't like how gigantic this is, so I am going to change that from font 36. I'm clicking on the answer now. I'm going to change that a little bit smaller, 24. And you can definitely do that to all of these. I selected all of them and I'm going to change it to 24. Okay, so at this point, I want you to pause the video and finish adding up all of your questions here. If you have any questions though, if I haven't answered your question, there's something different you want to do, maybe something that isn't working, send us a message, right? So whether it be on Teachers Pay Teachers, an email, on Facebook, anything like that, we do get back to you guys really, really fast. So go ahead and pause, troubleshoot, type up all your questions, and come back here, and then we'll talk about how to hide your answers from students. All right, so I'm trusting that your activity is complete, that you have all of your answers and your questions, and you've updated your sheet 2 to all of the possibility of answers. What we want to do now is we want to hide this from students. We want to be sneaky. So there's lots of different things that you can do. What you do need to understand though is that once you give students the option to make a copy of this, because they need to be able to edit it, they will own that copy. So they can definitely always access the answers. They have access to sheet 2. There's no way around that unless you are specifically making a copy for each of them and you are the owner of that copy, which would take you a ridiculous amount of time. But like we say in our Facebook group, if students are able to go through all of this and then still find the answers after we've done multiple things to hide them, then at that point they should be making the activities for you, right? Use that student to create them for you and save yourself some time. So we definitely don't want to get hung up on that. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to change all of this. I'm going to change all of the font to white. And I do that because then it's just kind of like inconspicuous. You can't see it. And students tend not to look at that. They don't pay attention to that. They're looking for like the most obvious ways of hiding things. So I just selected this, click the little box. I'm going to change the font size, the font to white, and they've all magically disappeared. Awesome. Now I'm going to select from L, just that column L, and I'm going to right click and hide the column. Now that column of pictures is gone. So now if you wanted it again, if you need to make additional edits or you notice something's wrong, you can still unhide by just clicking on these arrows. It will unhide it. Then you can click back on that little square and change the font back to black. Everything's there. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again. Click on the corner, make the font white, click on the column, right click and hide. All right, now I'm going to scroll up. Just select that first one there. I don't know why I do this, but it's like resetting it. At least in my mind, I've resetted it. And then I'm going to right click on sheet 2, where it says sheet 2 here at the bottom. I'm going to right click or 2-finger click, and I'm going to hide sheet. And now that sheet is hidden. And this is what students would see, your completed activity. Before you share it with students, you want it to not have your answers, right? So you want to go through here and delete all of the answers. So this is what you would want to share with your student, the completed activity with all of your questions and no answers on it. What I like doing is I like keeping the key, so the one that has all the answers, and then making a copy of that. So file and then make a copy. And when I make the copy, I delete all the answers on the copy, and that's what I share with students. That way I have an original one that I've created that I can mess around with and check if students need help, and then the copy that they've made a copy with. I assign everything through Canvas. At my high school, we use Canvas, but you can definitely use Schoology. You can use Google Classroom, anything like that. If you need assistance with assigning these, definitely reach out to one of us. We'll be more than happy to help. Other than that, I hope this video was helpful, that you have an awesome activity to work with. To either sell on your Teachers Pay Teachers or to offer up to your students. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.